What if I told you that the spiritual leader of over 1 billion people, a man who lives in a walled city-state and dresses in white robes, shares a direct bloodline connection with the most famous pop star on the planet? That the same genetic code that flows through the Pope also flows through Justin Bieber? It sounds like fantasy, a clickbait headline too wild to be true. But what if it was? This isn't a question of faith or coincidence. This is a question of history. And history, we have found, is the greatest detective story ever told. We are about to embark on an investigation that will stretch from the hushed halls of the Vatican to the screaming stadiums of a world tour, from the quiet devotion of a parish priest to the glittering excess of Hollywood. We are going to follow a single, unbroken thread that connects them all. This is the story of Pope Leo XIV and the 9 global superstars who share his bloodline. Welcome to Missing Link. We operate on one simple, powerful principle. History is not a straight line. It is a web, a vast, invisible, and breathtakingly intricate network of connections that binds every single one of us together. Our mission is to find those connections, to take 2 figures who seem to exist in separate universes and find the verifiable chain of genealogy, the documented events that prove they are family. If you're ready to see how deep the rabbit hole goes, you're in the right place. Consider hitting subscribe, because the connections we uncover will forever change how you see the world. Now, before we begin, you need to understand how we work. We are not conspiracy theorists. We are not gossip mongers. We are historical detectives. Our toolkit is not made of whispers and speculation. It is built from cold, hard, verifiable evidence. And we make a pledge to you, our fellow investigators. We will always present the most plausible path based on the evidence we uncover. Because history is not a closed case, it is an ongoing investigation, and we are all detectives in this great mystery. The search for truth is a collaborative effort, so if you have insights or questions, the conversation starts in the comments. Our case file today is perhaps our most sprawling yet. It centers on one man, Pope Leo XIV, born Robert Prevost, a man whose rise to the papacy was a moment of global significance. But to understand his role in our story, we cannot start in the 21st century. We must go back to a time when the world was being ripped open and stitched back together by exploration, empire, and ambition. Close your eyes and picture Europe in the 16th century. The air is thick with change. The Renaissance is in full bloom, but so is religious war. The old world is looking west, across a terrifying and vast ocean, towards lands it barely understands. This is our crime scene. And in the region of France, we find our founding character. His name is François Prévost. François was not a king. He was not an emperor. He was a nobleman, part of the intricate machinery of the French aristocracy. His power did not come from a throne, but from a contract, a marriage contract. In this era, families like the Prévosts were master weavers, threading their bloodlines through other powerful houses to create a web of alliances, land, and influence. A wedding could be more decisive than a war. François Prévost and his children were nodes in this vast network. They were connectors. And unbeknownst to them, the decisions they made, the unions they formed, would send ripples forward in time that would one day wash up on the shores of the modern world. This is where our story splits. This is the fork in the road that leads to our 2 seemingly disconnected realities. From François Prévost, one branch of the family tree remained firmly rooted in Europe. This branch continued its life within the structures of the continent, its wars, its politics, its faith. Generation after generation, this line produced soldiers, merchants, and critically, men of the cloth. There was a slow, steady current of devotion running through this branch, a current that flowed quietly through the centuries, through seminaries and dioceses, a current of faith that would, after hundreds of years, culminate in one of the most powerful spiritual positions on earth, the papacy. This branch leads directly to Robert Prevost, Pope Leo XIV. But another branch did something radically different. This branch heard the siren call of the New World. They boarded wooden ships and risked everything on a terrifying Atlantic crossing. They were among the first waves of French settlers who arrived in a land they called New France, a vast territory that would one day become parts of Canada and the United States. Their lives were unimaginably hard. They were pioneers, fur traders, farmers. They built communities from nothing, facing harsh winters and an uncertain future. And here is a crucial and difficult part of the record that we must confront with clear eyes. The world they entered was not a blank slate. It was a world of complex and often brutal colonial systems. Some of these Prevost descendants, like many of their contemporaries, became enmeshed in the economic engines of the time, which included the transatlantic slave trade and the displacement of indigenous peoples. This is not a judgment from our modern perspective. It is a historical fact documented in ledgers, ship records, and colonial administrative papers. Their lives were part of this system. This is the shadow that falls across this branch of the family tree. Their story is one of ambition and survival, but it is etched with the moral complexities of their era. For generations, this American branch of the Prevost tree grew and spread. They lost their connection to the noble houses of Europe. The name Prevost became just a name, a surname belonging to farmers and shopkeepers, its aristocratic origins fading into a distant, forgotten myth. They intermarried with other settler families in a tight-knit genetic pool. Their descendants became, for all intents and purposes, purely North American. The memory of François Prevost was lost to them. They were building new identities in a new world.
Now, let us leave the past for a moment. Let us travel to the present, a world of flashbulbs, private jets, and global fame. A world that feels light years away from 16th century France. This is where we meet our other subjects, 9 individuals who seem to define our modern era. First, Madonna, the ultimate rebel, the queen of pop who constantly reinvented music, culture, and herself. Her persona is built on challenging establishment, on pushing boundaries. Then, Justin Bieber, the boy from Stratford, Ontario, discovered on YouTube, who became a global phenomenon, his life a soundtrack for a generation. Angelina Jolie, the Oscar-winning actress, a UN ambassador, a symbol of global glamour and intense humanitarian passion. Now, let's add the politicians. Justin Trudeau, the charismatic Prime Minister of Canada. Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State and a central figure in American politics for decades. And the icons of Canadian music. Celine Dion, with her powerhouse voice. Shania Twain, the queen of country pop. Alanis Morissette, the voice of angsty authenticity. And Avril Lavigne, the punk pop superstar. What could these 9 people, and all their diverse modern glory, possibly have to do with a pope? The gulf between them seems infinite. This is where our investigation truly begins. We must now take their well-documented family histories and trace them backward. We are going to walk back through time, following their paper trails to see if they collide with the path of the Prevost family. Let's start with Madonna. Her mother was French-Canadian. When we trace that line back, we don't find a dead end. We find a highway. French-Canadian genealogy is some of the most meticulously recorded in the world, thanks to the Catholic Church's fastidious parish records. As we follow the names, her great-grandparents, her great-great-grandparents, we see them clustering in the same towns, the same villages in Quebec, and in those same ledgers, witnessing the same baptisms, signing the same documents, are families named Prevost. The trails are merging. Now, Justin Bieber. His roots are profoundly embedded in that exact same French-Canadian soil. His ancestry is a map of early settlement in New France. The same families appear again and again, intermarrying in a small, isolated population. It is a genetic bottleneck, and every line eventually leads back to a handful of founding families. When we map the Bieber tree, it doesn't just vaguely intersect with the Prevost network, it is fundamentally woven into it. His ancestors and the descendants of François Prevost were neighbors, friends, and family. The pattern is undeniable, and it repeats with stunning consistency. Angelina Jolie's paternal line, which includes French-Canadian ancestry, leads to the same cluster of communities. The records place her ancestors in the same time and place as our Prevost descendants. They were part of the same social and genetic fabric. The connections extend to the highest levels of power. Justin Trudeau's French-Canadian heritage is a matter of public record. His lineage is a textbook example of this historical pathway, directly connecting him to the founding populations of New France. Celine Dion's story is the same. Her family tree is a monument to the Quebecois experience, and it is built from the same timber as the others. And it leaps across the border. Hillary Clinton's maternal line, which often overshadowed her public life, can be traced back to French immigrants who arrived in the 1600s. They were part of that same great human migration. They walked the same paths, sailed on the same types of ships, and settled in the same North American landscape as the Prevost family. The same is true for Shania Twain, Alanis Morissette, and Avril Lavigne. Their French-Canadian roots are the key that unlocks the door to this shared past. 9 separate lines, 9 modern destinies, all leading backward, converging geographically, chronologically, and genetically on a single point of origin. The evidence is no longer a collection of hints. It is a mountain. The question is no longer if they are connected, but how. We are ready for the reveal. This is the climax of our investigation, the moment we forged the missing link. All of these trails, from the Pope and from the 9 celebrities, lead back to one man, one common ancestor, the great crossroads in this story. His name is François Prevost. He is the root. From this single root, 2 major branches grew. The first branch, as we know, stayed in Europe. It moved through history with a steady spiritual momentum, a river of faith that finally poured into the Vatican, giving us Pope Leo XIV. The second branch was an explosion. It was a diaspora. It crossed an ocean, shattered into 1,000 fragments, and took root in a new world. These fragments became the pioneers, the settlers, the forgotten ancestors of millions of North Americans. And through the incredible, random lottery of genetics and fame, some of those fragments eventually coalesced into the most famous people on the planet.
The chain is now complete and unbroken. Pope Leo XIV is not the grandfather of these celebrities. The connection is more profound, more ancient than that. He is their distant cousin. They are all the living, breathing endpoints on different branches of the same immense, ancient family tree. They are all descendants of François Prevost. So what does this mean? Why does this matter? It matters because this is not a parlor trick. This is a profound truth about the human experience. This single, verifiable chain is a microcosm of all of human history. It demonstrates that the divisions we think are so solid, between nations, between careers, between the sacred and the secular, are illusions of the present moment. They are thin veneers over a much deeper, shared reality. The same historical forces, a marriage in 16th century France, the decision to board a ship to the New World, the survival of a family through a brutal winter that shaped the destiny of a pope, also shaped the destiny of a pop star. The same blood that was spilled in colonial struggles now flows in the veins of world leaders and Hollywood icons. This story is proof that we are all characters in a single, sprawling, interconnected human epic. Your story, my story, the story of everyone watching this. We are all threads in this same magnificent, tangled web. Seeing the world this way changes everything. If you want to continue unraveling the mystery with us, we have so many more connections to reveal. Case closed for now. We have followed the evidence across oceans and centuries, linking the throne of St. Peter to the stages of the world. But the investigation is never truly over. The web is infinite. And now, the case is in your hands. We want to know, who should we connect next? A Roman emperor and a tech billionaire? A philosopher from ancient Greece and a modern-day rock star? Write your most impossible pairing in the comments below. The most compelling case could become our next investigation. If this journey through the web of history resonated with you, if it made you see the world a little differently, then do us a favor and like this video. And to make sure you don't miss our next historical detective story, subscribe to the channel and tap the bell. We're just getting started, and the next missing link is waiting to be found. Remember, history isn't a straight line, it's a web, and you are connected to all of it.